Okay, guys, here we are. We are going to discuss something very near and dear to my heart. I was sitting with the Lord one night and I heard him show me the word present, which we all love presents, right? We love presents. Then he showed me the word present, and it's the same exact word. And I just heard so clearly in my spirit, present a present. And I had to go write it down, and then I had to Google it and make sure it was the exact same spelling, because I thought, I've never realized that. Present a present is the same exact word, but it has two separate meanings. So I'm going to present a present to you guys. So Mama Faye, this is for you. This is a beautiful present for you. I love you, I cherish you, I value you, and I want you to know that this is a token of my love towards you. You're welcome. Haley, my precious Haley, there's your present. I hope that you like it.
Thank you.
Alyssa, here you go, friend. You're welcome. So, if you guys want to go ahead and open your presents. You got a little chocolate? You like your little chocolate? Okay, so let's see what's in Mama Faye's present.
The ribbon.
Isn't the ribbon beautiful?
Yes, it's beautiful.
Listen, I love a good ribbon. It can wrap up, good ribbon can change anything. Who is like me and loves to save the ribbon? That's where the mom in me, my mom comes out of me where I'm like, ooh, that's a pretty ribbon. Hold on, let me save that. Let me roll that up. Haley, did yours have a bow?
It did not.
Okay. Did yours have a bow? Oh, you didn't have a bow. You just had a Walmart bag. Oh, it's the same thing.
It's the same as hers.
You guys all got the same exact thing. Okay, I want everybody to tell me, what is the price of yours, Faye?
14.
Okay.
14. 14.
Okay, little etiquette tip, never leave the price on your presents, right? But I left it on there for a reason. So let me point out here, Faye, you all three have the same exact present.
Yes.
They're all the same exact value,
Yes.
but they were presented differently.
Yes.
How did you feel when I gave you your present?
Special.
What about you, Haley?
I saw hers first, and then I saw mine. I loved the wrapping, but I was curious why I didn't get a bow.
There you go. Wow, I love that. Same price, same gift, little different present. What about you, Alyssa?
I was confused. I thought, okay, this is different. Yeah, no bow, no wrapping, just bag.
And no offer of my gratitude, no love, just here you go.
Toss.
Right. So that made each one of you feel very differently, huh?
Yes, absolutely.
The detail in this gift made you feel loved.
Absolutely.
Is that right?
Yes.
Made you feel like I actually took time.
That's right. And you thought about me prior to buying it?
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. And we took the special time to wrap it. Now, we're women. Like it or not, right or wrong, we compare. We look around and we're like, why don't I get that? That's what we do. So that's natural for you to think, why didn't I get a bow? So here we have a little handwritten tag on her ribbon with another special detail. Yours just had your name written across the top of the paper. Yours didn't have anything, it was just in a plastic bag. So can you speak into how you feel about how that present was presented to you in relation to how we present the present of life to our families?
Well, I would say if that sentence just right there isn't convicting to everybody who's hearing it, then they're not being honest. Mm-hmm. Because even just an example in my own life right now, I mean, I cook. I'm in my kitchen constantly. I have 3 little kids that are always hungry. Mm-hmm. And the difference that it feels when I set the table before them, when I bring out my nice plates, I make them feel special. We all sit together as a family versus like throwing everything in front of them. Everything's a free-for-all. Here's a paper plate. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Right.
I know.
Right.
Sometimes we're surviving.
That's right.
But something that I've, even just watching this, like I want my children to feel that when they get my attention. I want them to know that I care about them, that they're special to me. I thought about them before the thing. I don't want them to feel like I'm just chunking my time and energy, because even though we all had the same gift and it smelled the same, looked the same price, it felt like, oh, here, just have it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. What about you, Haley?
That was good and convicting because I have a little boy, I'm a new mom, and sometimes time gets ahead of me or I'm rushing through things, and if he needs food now 3 times a day instead of just milk, I'll just heat something up, set it down, set him down, and walk away. Instead of now at dinner, we'll all sit together, even if he's not eating the same, pull him up next to us, and he like lights up because he loves being around people and he just wants to be a part of the conversation and see that everyone else is partaking in what he's receiving, and to show that your effort, or to put in effort, even just how you present things like you're talking about, makes someone feel your love deeper. And I think that's important to let people know.
This is a word that God gave me just recently. And I thought, the feminine woman that God created has become and is becoming extinct. And this show is about bringing us all back together and reestablishing God's original plan through the feminine side of his creation. And listen, every time I speak to women, and I've taught these lessons for probably 15 years, I always want to say this. We never, ever, 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 ever speak about our position in humanity as it pertains to men. Men are a completely different creature. We are specific in God's design. And we have a responsibility. But what life has done to us, what the world has done, is militantly create us into militant feminist. In other words, do everything you can to be a man. We got to act like them. We got to walk like them. We got to talk like them. We got to be paid like them. We got to look like them. But we're not. We're women. Listen, if I ever give one message across, if it's my last words on this planet, I want to say this to women. Men were created for 3 purposes: to war, to provide, and to protect. If we can release them from being our best friend to go shopping with, from being our counselor, from having to listen to us talk for 5 hours on end and complain about everything, but to understand that we have the honor and the privilege to present the present of life to our families. Because let me tell you, life is a present. It is a present from the God Almighty himself. And it is right there for the taking. But sometimes, I know, Haley, you're in a brand new mom stage, and that's tough. Even though you have one, it is tough. Because you have nights where you don't sleep, you worry all the time. We all do. We've all had children here in this table. We know. It's a journey. It's tough. I think, God, you're a warrior. Never forget that. You know, you're strong and strength. And so even when we come from the utterness of brokenness, even when we come from abuse or neglect or rejection or physical molestation, or every single one of us has something in our past that we wish, God, I wish I wouldn't have experienced that. Where was my dad? Or where was my mom? Or I was on the streets my whole life, or my mom was abusive, or my dad, or we all have a different story. But the 7th or 8th week in gestation, it was determined whether estrogen was going to stay moving forward or testosterone was going to flow forward and make you a male, or you were going to remain a female. In that moment, when it was determined you were going to be a female, every ounce of your fiber was created to equip you with everything you needed. It doesn't matter if you went through really bad times after you were born, or if you had a perfect life. It doesn't matter. It's there. I know I am Jane. My husband is Tarzan. We are very traditional. We are very traditional. I am a very, very, very strong businesswoman. I have run many companies. I've had 1,000 men under my care at one time. I know how to do business, but I also know how to serve and take care of my husband. That's power. When you can be submitted at home, now let me tell you, I'm not submitted to my husband's authority in the way that I have no voice. I'm submitted to the authority of God and believe that if I ask God, he will speak through my husband and bring wisdom. Because sometimes our guys are a mess. Sometimes we're a mess. And we don't have, many years of my marriage, I looked at my husband and go, I can't submit to you. you're not making any good decisions. But that was way, way, way wrong of me. I had to learn how to go to the Father and ask God, give my husband wisdom. And then I started declaring over him, he is this, he is that. Things I didn't believe I was declaring, right? So I got it really wrong for 20-something years. We had a very rocky marriage for a while. But I did not wait for him to get it right before I got it right. I got it right first. What did I say the other day? From the overflow of the presence of God within me, then started to bless everything that touched me. So we don't have to get our scoreboard out and go, well, he didn't do this for me and he didn't do that for me. No, you know what? I finally just gave that up because I tried for 20 years to even that field. In Genesis 2:22, it says, and then God created a helper suitable for him. He referred to us as a helper. Sometimes in the church, we get that wrong and we think that means subordinate, second, assistant. That's not what that means. I'm going to break that up in another episode. But one of the letters of that word Ezra in Hebrew, it is so powerful. It truly is a point of strength. We don't have to balance and level. We can just be the top version of ourselves. One of the letters of when God said, I created a helper, he was referring to the female. One of the letters of that word, Ezra, is a seed that connects heaven to earth. Peter said in the New Testament, wives, he was speaking to wives of unsaved men. Unsaved. He was speaking to wives and he said, preach your biggest sermon with your mouth shut. When I found that, it literally buckled me. Because I was preaching a sermon every day with not only a megaphone, but a microphone, a megaphone, a surround sound system. Like I was, marching the walls of Simon, Jericho, trying to get that thing to break down. Never worked. When I started preaching my sermons with my mouth shut, what does that mean to you, Alyssa? If I say, preach your biggest sermon with your mouth shut, what does that mean to you?
I would say for me, that would mean to be serving my home with a good attitude, praying for my home without everybody seeing me. Maybe there's something that I'm really praying that my husband does or says, but I go to the Father first, trusting that he's going to speak to my husband and at the right time he's going to talk to me about it. And that's actually happened in our life. I think loving my husband well, loving my children well, having a good attitude, not acting like they're an inconvenience to me or they're I'm laboring for them, because I think we have a tendency to become victims in our own homes. And we present this a lot, especially when we're tired. So I think that living out that life without that expectation of something being given to us in return, they feel that and they know that. Like, I'm serving you because I love you. And yes, sometimes it's a sacrifice, but it's a worthy sacrifice. And it's my gift to do this, my honor to do this. Because that's how Jesus makes us love. Oh, I love that.
Seed. Sister, it's a seed. When we know about planting seeds, we know about the harvest. Proverbs 14:1 says, the wise woman builds her house, but the foolish pulls it down with her hands. I love this. And then it says, the wise woman, wisdom builds, it looks at what is, and wisely considers how to make it better. Come on. Listen, I got a revelation when I was studying this. It looks at what is, and it wisely considers how to make this better. I was starting to say earlier, one of my favorite things, this sounds very like old-fashioned to me, is to see all the women in the kitchen cooking and preparing meals for our families together, and all the guys are somewhere else watching the game. I love that so much. Like, I love that. I'm a Renaissance woman. I am obsessed with the power that we have together to support each other and stand in the gap where one is strong and one is weak. So it's looking at what is wise, looking at what is, and how can we make that better, okay? And then it says, now the word foolish is to pull down. And instead of supporting and building what is, folly, which is a word for foolishness, shows its destructive nature. Think about that for a minute. The woman of a home has tremendous power to build it up or tear it down. And I got to ask everybody today watching, which one do you want to do? Considering the family is God's #1 institution. Y'all, have you ever thought about for a second, like, if the family is God's #1 institution and we are the hand that can build it up or tear it down, and we're a seed to connect heaven to earth, what? The word foolish in Hebrew comes from the same word as avail, which is where we get the word evil. It speaks to someone who despises wisdom and discipline, quarrelsome, and licentious. Now, let me read this. Proverbs 23. Avoiding a fight is a mark of honor. Only fools insist on quarreling. I wanted to crawl under my desk when I read that. I'll be avoiding fights from now on, not starting them. Thank you. Licentious is out of Proverbs 7:22. This is the Amplified Version. Suddenly he went after her, as an ox goes to the slaughter, in parentheses, not knowing the outcome, or as one in stocks going to the correction to be given to a fool. Note the foolish woman, her idleness, her waste, her love of pleasure, lack of all forethought and care. In other words, don't see into the future, right? We see her house torn down in confusion, you guys. It would have been a sad result if this had been done by an enemy. But it is the doing, or rather undoing, of her own hands. How many times have we heard girls say, Satan is in my life. Satan has done this. It's the enemy that's motivating this. It's the enemy that's doing this. The enemy's got my mind. The enemy, we see a devil behind every bush. And the commentary on this says it would be kind of understandable to try to blame the enemy, but the tearing down is by her own hands.
Guys, thank you so much for being here with me. Thank you for being honest with me and receiving your gifts in all the different shapes and forms. I'm excited because now I'm going to teach you how to wrap a present.
I love to wrap presents. I love showing up to an event with a beautifully wrapped gift. And you just watched an entire piece that we did about presenting the present of life. And practically, I want to present this present to my daughter. This is a beautiful book that I found for her. It's called Dinner Parties, Reviving the Art of the Hostess. And I thought that was just appropriate for today. So I'm going to teach you how to wrap a present. So first of all, what we're going to do is when you unwrap your paper, just give yourself about 3 to 4 inches on each end. You can always trim, but you cannot add. Remember that. You can always trim, but you cannot add. And listen, it is not about perfection. It's just about the heart and the condition of the heart, and that is trying to make things pretty. We just talked about seeing what is and going in to make it better. So we're going to wrap this very quickly. We're just going to take, now there's a rule of thumb that we want to follow, and that typically is you want to find a tape that is clear. A clear tape is always beautiful to use, but I will also tell you that if you want to be extraordinarily unique, then you want to use a double-sided tape, because a double-sided tape will allow you to fold your edges and not show any tape. And so that's like next level. So I always take the edge here, fold it so that you have a nice clean edge to fold over. Fold that over tight, and then you want to fasten that with your tape on 3 different areas. And normally what I try to do is when I put my ribbon up, I take my ribbon and I cover that seam. And you always want that seam to be kind of right down the middle of that gift. Now you will see here that we have some uneven edges on the folds. Okay, I typically like to take that flat and I like to cut it straight across. because it makes for a very clean space whenever you're folding those edges. If you are wrapping Christmas presents and you're on present number 50, don't worry about it. Just do your best. Because I know that we get really tired when we're wrapping a ton of presents at one time. So, here we're gonna do is we're gonna take that in, we're gonna fold that, corner in and flatten, corner in and flatten, and then you wanna just take that corner there and tightly roll it over, okay? And then of course we're gonna fasten that again down the side here, and fasten it back here, down the side here, and then across the top. One thing I want to share with you is a couple of rules of thumb that I want you to remember while you are learning about etiquette. Is when you're going to someone's home for the very first time as a guest, one of the things I love is don't show up empty-handed. A tip that I have is when I see things on clearance, 60, 75, 90% off sometimes, I will just pick up a few things that I love and I will put it in my gift closet. And then I always have a few gift bags. You know, sometimes you can find gift bags at Christmas that are like 90% off or Valentine's Day. It's not, as long as it's a solid color and it's not unique to that specific holiday, then you can get some gift bags and some wrapping paper for very, very, very good prices. And so I just kind of keep it all together in one place in my house so that if I'm going somewhere, I don't have to go do a shopping trip for that. So once you have your present all nice and tidy and wrapped, my next fun part is the ribbon. So with your ribbon, what we're gonna do is take your measurement, take it across the top twice, then across the other way twice, and then again, this way, and then I often give myself another little bit just in case, because you can always take off, you can't add on. Take it there to the center, and all you're gonna do, it's like tying your shoes. You just go this way, lay it back over, come over here. This is like tying a tennis shoe. Just tuck it underneath there, underneath your ribbon. And then you tie that tight. Now, what you want to do is take both of your little tails here. You want to make a loop here. This is just like tying your shoes. Make a loop here and then tie it. Okay? Once you have that tied, now you can adjust the size of your loops. So you adjust it that way, you adjust it that way. If you would like, you can do another turn here where you're just tying that again and you're doubling up, but then you want to bring that back out to loosen that up, to make that bow a little bit shorter. Listen, I love wired ribbon because it gives you the capacity to fluff and it stays. So from here, you can add a little trinket, you can add an ornament, you can add a little piece of candy, whatever is your personal preference, just to kind of pizzazz this gift up a little bit more. You can also add a nice little gift tag. I've even seen beautiful little quotes written on right on the wrapping paper. If you're creative and you're an artist, add your special touch to the gift. Let me give you one of the biggest faux pas to do in gift giving. Please, please, please avoid this. Do you see this gift and how it is full of tissue paper that we probably took out of a different gift and just grabbed it really quick and just shoved it in over the gift? Please don't do that. It would almost be better to not have any tissue paper. So instead of doing that, because remember we talked about presenting a present, wouldn't you want the essence of who you are to come across in the gift that you took the time to get? So instead of doing this, let me show you the correct way to put tissue in a bag. So what I always do is I'm going to take the very center of this tissue paper, and you literally grab it to the center and tuck the point in to the gift. Now, if you have an object, we're just going to use this for example, that you're going to put in the bag, take it and wrap it with one of the pieces of tissue paper, then put that inside the bag. And if you have 2 or 3 things, you can do that. Then take your tissue paper, put it in there. I would always recommend to do maybe 3 or 5 tissue papers. In decorating or doing anything, you always want to use odd numbers because it just is the way it should be. So I'm going to take 3 of these cute tissues, and because this is a little bit darker, I'm going to probably try to put this one down the middle to give it a little bit of depth. See how much better this is? This is so much prettier than old tissue paper shoved in. I just want to encourage you in this. Whatever you do, make sure that the essence of who you are comes through as you present the present of life. I hope you enjoyed today's episode on Present a Present. If you want to get involved in partnering with us in the fight against the exploitation of women, check out all the resources that we have for you to grow into the woman that we know that God has designed you to be. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.